Hello, I am Anna. I am beginner front-end developer. Today I want to tell about the wonderful reduce array method. I did it immediately, come to me myself. I think now can I help beginners deal with it. So, what kind of beast is the reduce? And what is it eaten with? First, let's take a look at the documentation. The link to the on my slide. So reduce is a built-in array method that takes only two arguments. The thing to remember is that it takes only two arguments. At the interview, they like to catch on this because something people get confused and attribute to it the parameter that the callback function take. The reduce accept only two arguments. The required parameter is the callback function, and the optional parameter is the initial value. Before describing the callback function, I will tell you what reduce does. does. It collects all incoming values in order, passes then those callback and accumulators into one summing value. We can get this one value, but we can create different data structure in the process without stopping. Reduce take different vegetables from the array and put them together into a delicious salad with sauce from the callback function. What is the callback function? According to the documentation, this callback function take four arguments. Previous value. The value obtained by configuring the callback in the previous call. It is called the accumulator. When first called, it is equal to the initial value. If we specified it, if it is not specified, it is equal to the first value of the array, the current value. Current value of the element on which the function operates on iteration. It is important to remember here that on the first call, this number will be equal to the first value in the array. In the initial value is specified and will be the second element if not initial value was specified. Index corresponds to the current value will be 0 if initial value is specified and 1 if not specified. And last argument, the initial array. It can be not only an array, but also a composition of an index and array. And now we have a question. Why do we need this reduce if there is a for loop? Firstly, in order to support polymorphism in the JavaScript. It's so great when there are many ways to achieve something. Secondly, the reduce helps to make the code shorter. It can immediately include more methods such as map or filter in one function. Thirdly, in some tests, reduce works faster than for loop with large amounts of data. Fortunately, when working with large numbers, the odds can get errors. When working with mathematical method, reduce help to avoid them. And consolation, this is a great exercise for the mind, not to walk along the ordered path, but to try a new method. Let's move on to the examples for clarity. And take a simple example with finding the sum of elements. This classic example is found without the description of reduce. My slide shows the for loop and reduce method. The reduce helps to avoid declaring an extra variable. It is worth understanding. If we need to collapse the array into one value and we need to call a variable outside loop, so in this case reduce is suitable for us. Let's look at some more complex examples. Determine the number of identical array elements, expand an array of arrays. Combine data from two sources into an array. Now I show it. To get the number of each element in the array, we additionally use the map collection. In this example, count will be equal to a collection with pointers to the number of repetitions. With reduce, we can work with different type of data, such as string, numbers, arrays, object, etc. To destructure an array in reduce, we simply glue the elements inside the array, collecting them into one array. On input, the initial array will become one-dimensional array. Data binding. Let's imagine that we have an array of animals which contains object with the name and type kind of the animal. And we also have an object that contains the price of animals. In order to combine this data, we will pass an empty array in initial value. Array initial value is this. We declared the names for initial array of animals as keys. If the animal has a price set, push this value in arrays. If there is no price, set is 0, and we return array. At output, the new array will contain object with the kind, price, and name. We can also combine two objects and other structure of data. We can use reduce to convert an array to an object. In order to get an object at the output, we pass an empty object. This. Now, as a second parameter in the reduce method, and we have a new object with keys and value. And now let's try to write reduce ourselves. This is a popular interview questions. Our reduce functions will take three arguments: array, callback function, and initial value. The variable result will accumulate the values that will be processing when the callback function is called. Since we do not use this, so it's not introduce any additional these arguments. We will pass null as the first parameters. Descriptions there in the slide. And its conclusion: reduce collapse an array to single value reduces. This value can be any data type, both primitive and composite, for example, an object and array. The method can combine a filter and map, makes code more elegant, allows you to work with different types without additional loops. Something simple for loops, now to make to code run faster. It is all. Love and use reduce array method. Goodbye.